In last week's video, we built a primitive sinew-backed eastern red cedar longbow. In this video, we're going to be continuing the series and making some river cane arrows. We'll cover harvesting river cane, straightening the shafts, cutting self nocks, stripping feathers, primitive fletching techniques, and also forging out some trade point arrowheads. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do that because we're going to take this rig hog hunting when we get done with everything. River cane grows in many of the southern states, but you might need to look around to find the best quality. I look for stands growing close together in dense shade. This causes it to grow tall and fast with long distances between the nodes, and that's going to make it a lot easier to straighten. I also look for cane with thicker walls, which can sometimes be difficult to find. River cane, as opposed to something like Tonkin cane, is going to have nodes that are larger than the shaft diameter, but I don't want to shave these completely down. I just want to smooth them off. If you sand them completely down, you're going to weaken the shaft and cause it to break at the node. When you're straightening cane shafts, it's best to do it in multiple passes. I do some initial straightening while the cane is still green, and then I bundle them together and let them dry before coming back for the second pass. For the first pass, a big heat source like this fire is okay, but when you come back for the second pass, you're going to want a very concentrated heat source so that you don't heat up the whole shaft and lose what you've already done. You just want to heat the areas that need to be bent. Applying a little bit of tension to the cane as you're straightening it will help reduce the tendency to crush the cane on the inside bend, especially when you're bending around nodes. And that's going to make a little bit more sense once you try this. Once they're all fairly straight, go ahead and bundle them together and let them dry. While we're waiting on these canes to dry, we're going to go ahead and forge out some trade point arrowheads for our upcoming hog hunt. I'm making these out of the tangs off of old rasps. After shaping the tips and filing the edge, these tips need to be quenched and tempered, just like we covered in the knife making video. Once the cane is completely dry, we're going to make one more pass to make sure these things are laser straight before trimming them to length. To trim these river canes, all you've got to do is run a knife around them a couple of times and then just put some pressure on that and break them off clean. River cane is the most durable natural shaft material I have ever used. This stuff is almost indestructible. After trimming them to length, I'm just going to taper the end down a little bit so that we'll have a nice smooth transition from the broadhead into the shaft. Before cutting in the self nocks, it's important to reinforce this river cane with a little bit of sinew or thread so that you don't split the cane as you're cutting in the nock. And that goes with the tips as well. A little bit of hide glue is all you need to keep this sinew in place. While we're waiting on that sinew to dry, we're going to go ahead and strip out some turkey feathers for fletchings. Now when I strip these feathers like this, there's going to be no quill attached to the fletching at all, and that's going to allow these feathers to sit right against the shaft so that we can tie them on with our sinew. The self nocks are pretty self-explanatory. I'm just drilling a hole here so that I'll have a good place to start my nock, and then I'm going to chip out what's behind this and leave ourselves with a slot to fix to our arrow string. To tie on our fletchings, I'm just putting them all in one bundle, making a couple of wraps of sinew, and then after we've got them affixed, we're going to go ahead and just slide them around the shaft and position them where we want them. For these fletchings, I am going for a little bit of a helical, and so I am angling these feathers across the shaft before tying the fronts down. I've left the front of these feathers a little bit long and sticking out beyond the sinew. And the reason I've done that is because you can take that little tag in and pull it to tighten the fletching down to the shaft. Now this is a little bit difficult to see exactly what I'm doing here, but I am taking a very thin piece of sinew and spiraling it around the shaft from front to back through the fletchings and using that to hold the fletchings down to the shaft. Once I get that done, I'll put just a little bit of hide glue under the fletching right against the shaft, and that'll help a little bit more to hold it down. To fix the points into the shaft, I'll wrap the tang with hide glue soaked sinew and twist the points into the shaft. Once the hide glue dries, the point will be fixed solidly in place. A little sinew in front of the shaft will help create a smoother transition from point to shaft and help with penetration. And a solid wrap of sinew behind the tip will ensure the shaft doesn't split if it hits something hard. In next Wednesday's video, we're going to be making a sinew string to complete our primitive bow hunting setup. Once we get that done, we're going hog hunting with our primitive equipment. So subscribe if you're not already. We'll see you next Wednesday.